Hi guys, with this video I want to break down the way I build a simple object in Manga Studio and the way I build it and clean it up, and especially if it's a complex object. So I figured it'd be the best way for me to show this is for me to make a video as I work and then just voice over uh, the different functions I'm using to create the object. Okay, so on my initial drawing, I actually create a new vector layer. The reason why I create a vector layer is so that I can change the shape of the vector I created. So I grab the figure tool so I can make my ellipses. And with the vector art settings or the vector layer settings, I could quickly change or alter my ellipses. Here I'm using the turnip pen, and I can actually alter the thickness so it can match my vector lines. And you'll also notice that I'm making ellipse copies very quickly, and the way I do that is as I select the object with my operation tool, I hold down the option button on the Mac or Alt button on a PC. And if I hold that button down, if I press the button, select the ellipse and hold that down, it makes an automatic copy of that ellipse. And then all I have to do is select that ellipse and change the size as I'm doing there. Okay, there I'm actually just drawing them in. I didn't make copies. And as you see here, I'm actually just putting them in, and I'm selecting them, selecting the ellipse and dropping it in where I think it goes. That camera, I did have reference for it on the side. I actually had a reference for that camera, and I knew what angle I wanted it in. Although the reference was at a different angle, I kind of just came up with a way, or basically came up with the angle. But I know what the camera looks like. So this is the basic build, and then at this point, I noticed that those ellipses need to turn a few degrees less. So that's why I changed them there. And I'm zooming out just to check to see how the work goes. And as a matter of fact, what you saw there, that strange body of dots and points, that comes from erasing on a vector, on an actual vector layer. At this point, I'm just cleaning it up. I built everything. I knew where the ellipses go. I used the reference I had to know what the camera looks like, and I built a very rough drawing underneath. So then at that point, I just started throwing in the paths, or basically the vector art, and just at this point, I have mostly everything I need. So I'm just cleaning up and adding and embellishing and adding. At that point, I'm adding a bevel edged, or basically not even a bevel edge, another dimension to the lens area. And I'm cleaning up, and this is a very small object in the panel, so I'm not going super clean. If this was a bigger or an illustration just for the camera, I would have been much cleaner than this. But at this point, for what it serves, this is clean enough. See, I'm adding another ellipse there, which is very easy to do when you're working in the vector layers. You could do it in raster layers too, but working vector, you can actually change the thickness of the line also if you need to. So at this point, I'm just checking around to see what everything looks like. I'm looking at my reference, adding another beveled edge. Those curves right there, I'm throwing them in freestyle, just freehand, and it's serving its purpose. So and a good reason or why I'm doing it this way is so that it's very clean. All the lines are clean, and when I finish the rest of the panel, I don't have to ink this much. As a matter of fact, I could just clean this up, drop in some blacks or drop in whatever I want to, and this is done. I don't even have to ink that object anymore. So that object is built, drawn, and inked all at the same time. And if you're drawing comics, you want to save as much time any way you can. So building objects like this I think is a quick way of just dealing with it and having it done, and you don't need to in any way to redraw it or draw it again cleanly and then ink it. So you're basically doing two things there. So at this point, I'm just cleaning it up, making sure it looks good enough, and there it is. Isolated by itself, all clean. Basically, what it would look like if not inked. An important thing to remember here is that when I built this, I just threw in the ellipses, the lines, and then once the object was pretty clear is when I started deleting certain areas and cleaning up the drawing. So that's key to move quickly also, just to throw in your shapes and then clean up. So here's the fully drawn panel. Everything was penciled after I finished doing that camera. I focused on building that camera. Then after that, I focused on penciling in the rest of the panel. Those are not my inks for the people and the faces. Those are just my pencils. Then now I can actually ink that and then do very minimal inking on the object I created. So that's I would say a quick way of again dealing with an object that's complex and that's time consuming and getting it out of the way. Also, another key here is to have reference of what you're drawing and know what object you're drawing. Freestyling it like that, you'd have to be very good to be able to nail it perfectly. So I did have reference, and that helped me to really get the correct look for the object. So to go over how I built this object is just a few steps, and it would be to build a vector layer, which is important. That way you could alternate the sizes and the actual width of the line after, and also to roughly build your object and wait to clean up later. Then another thing to remember is key functions like holding the option key down or the alternate button down on PCs, option on Mac, so you can quickly copy your object or your object or shape, and then have reference. I think reference is going to be very important. That way you can get your object looking the right way and looking believable. So in my opinion, in working this way, or the benefit of working this way, is that certain parts of your panel are already completed. So when you have to do other duties like finish the rest of the panel or inking, a lot of the work is already there. A lot of the base work, the foundation is there. Okay guys, so I think this covers this basic tutorial that I wanted to do. Please subscribe to my channel because I do have more basics like this coming, and I'm actually getting the videos ready now, and I will be creating intermediate and more advanced videos with the actual clip files or PSD files, whatever you'd like, for download via my Patreon page. You can check that out as well. And I do plan on covering traditional work like markers, inking, even perspective on board or traditional perspective on paper. So thanks for watching guys, and please leave a comment and or a question if you'd like. Okay guys, thank you very much.